What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another video on the channel. And today I'll be going through my round 21 AFL tips and predictions, as well as going through round 20, the tips and predictions and the big calls to see if I've got to do a punishment. Now, quickly before we do get into them, if anyone's wondering, what's up with the lighting and all that, yeah, the lights that I ordered a week ago were meant to come today, and they still haven't come yet, so watch them come after the video's been filmed. So if anyone's wondering, the lighting will be back to how it was before the lights broke a couple of months ago on that weekly vlog. But anyways, let's get over round 20. It was an interesting round, that's for sure, but a decent one in terms of tipping. The first game, Carlton v St Kilda, I tipped the Saints, obviously, and got that one incorrect. Then I tipped the Dogs to beat the Crows, tipped the Cats to beat the Roos. I tipped Collingwood to beat West Coast in an upset, and I got that one correct. Then I tipped Melbourne to beat Gold Coast, Brisbane to beat Hawthorn, but Hawthorn upsetted them. Not too many, I reckon, would have tipped that. And then I got the next three correct in tipping Sydney, Fremantle on a bit of an upset, and Port to beat GWS to get 7 out of 9 tips, which is actually pretty good, considering that there were a few upsets that I tipped. So I think most would have probably got less than that. So I'm quite happy with 7. And also, I'll quickly go over my big calls. So St Kilda v Carlton, I predicted Butler to kick 4 or more goals, and that was way off the money. Actually, nowhere near getting that one correct. Bulldogs v Adelaide, I predicted 30 or more goals to be combined. 23 goals were scored, so not really close on that one either. Collingwood North v Geelong, I predicted there to be less than 15 goals combined in the game, and I got that one correct. So the first one correct, only 14 goals were scored combined. And Collingwood v West Coast, I predicted Jamie Elliott to kick 4 or more goals. He kicked 2 goals too, so I was a little bit close to that one, but not really. Melbourne v Gold Coast, I predicted Gold Coast goal kicking accuracy would be over 70%, and they kicked 4-6, so that was incorrect. Hawthorn v Brisbane, I predicted Danaher to kick 5 or more, and he only kicked the 1. In Essendon v Sydney, I predicted Sydney to come back from 20 or more points down, and I was sort of close with this one, actually. Sydney, they did come back, but they only came back from a margin of 13 points. And in the Freo v Richmond game, I predicted David Mundy to score 2 or more goals in a quarter. That didn't happen. I don't think he scored a goal. And then in the last game of the round, I don't even think it matters, does it? No. Yeah. You know what? I don't think I got that one right either. So I'm just going to go incorrect. So 1 out of 9, which means another punishment that I have to do. And the one that was commented, let me quickly just check that. Well, it was from Sportsline with only a very small amount of likes compared to the other weeks. We got 66 likes from Sportsline. Go to Macca's at midnight and ask for 10 Big Macs. Now, I obviously am not doing it in this video because it's going to be a little bit tough to do, considering I need, for one, going to McDonald's at midnight, all right, and then secondly, getting someone to go with me to McDonald's at midnight. So if anyone wants to go with me that knows me, hit me up on messages. And then thirdly, actually ordering the 10 Big Macs. What the hell am I going to do with 10 Big Macs? So, look, I'll aim to get it out next tipping video, but if I can't, there's a reason, because it's sort of hard to actually execute because it's at midnight and all that. But anyways, sports time, there we go. That got the most likes, and for whatever reason, these tips, the comments now on videos, they don't stay on top if they've got the most likes. So they sort of just, I don't know, they get lost in the sea of comments, which means the likes, there aren't as many, and that means there's more of a chance that you could actually get the most likes on a video. But anyways, let's get straight into the tips. Round 21. Round 20 was a weird week. I didn't really watch too much games last week, considering the Saints game on Friday night. I was just not in a great mood to want to watch that much more footy afterwards, to be fair. But the first game, we've got Geelong taking on GWS at GMHBA Stadium on Friday night. A little bit disappointed that this is the Friday night game. I don't think this is going to be a spectacle. I don't think this is going to be close in any way. But I'll be streaming this game most likely, so tune into that. But yeah, Geelong v GWS, the Cats last week. There's nothing really for the Cats to worry about, only beating the Roos by 20, because the Roos have honestly been a better side than a lot of teams in the last 8 weeks. But they got the job done away in Blunston as well. So even though it wasn't an amazing win or a comprehensive win, it was still a pretty decent win, really, just to get the job done, because North are one of those teams that you never know what might happen with them. And GWS as well, they weren't too poor against the Power at Marvel. I mean, it was a bit tough for them, considering they had to move from, I don't know where they were scheduled to play, but it was sort of a last minute, scheduling to play at Marvel. So you know, it was a little bit tough for them to get the job done. And the Power, obviously, they just don't lose to the bottom 10 sides really. But the Giants weren't too bad. I mean, I think in the third quarter or the second, they kicked 6 goals. I didn't watch any of this match, but I watched the highlights, and they actually got within 4 points in front in the third quarter. But the Power, they sort of had control of most of the game, and you know, didn't really look like losing it, and they got the job done by 27. So I think this is an easy tip. The Cats really never drop games at GMHBA. So I'll go Geelong by 39 points. And if anyone was on my stream last night, the big calls, I got people from the stream last night to pick them for me. I got to pick the best one. So the one that I'm picking for this one is GWS to get their lowest score of the year, which is 56 or less. Now the next game we've got, and obviously all games have been, you know, scheduled to change on Monday. They changed all of the games, so you know, these are different fixtures now. We've got Carlton taking on Gold Coast at Marvel Stadium. Carlton had one of the most impressive wins of the season, arguably the most impressive. I mean, for me, I think it's their best game of the season. It's not just because they play the Saints. I actually think they really played a great style of footy, and they really wanted to win the game. Like, their ferocity at the contest and their pressure around the ball was just elite. I think they had 52 tackles up until half-time, which was, well, I haven't seen the Blues do better than that in recent memory. I was on stream with Pommy and Oz on the Blue Abroad channel. Pommy's a great bloke, but you know, it couldn't have been a worse result to watch on the Blue Abroad channel. The Saints getting smashed against the Blues. Yeah, I don't know. It sort of sucks, doesn't it? The fact that actually happened. But yeah, Carlton don't seem too bad, and you know, believe it or not, the famous Tanush quote, Carlton can still make finals, is actually still on the agenda. And they've got Gold Coast, Port, and GWS to play. If they can win all 3 games, you never know. And, well, I mean, the Suns just had an absolute horror game against the Ds. They lost by 98. They probably should have lost by more than 100 with all the shots the Ds had. So, yeah, the Suns have just sort of just been put straight back into square one after having an impressive few weeks. They've just sort of crumbled in the last 2 weeks against the Ds and the Lions. So yeah, I don't see anyone really tipping the Suns here. I don't see why you would tip the Suns based off last week. The Blues are clear favourites to win this one. I'm going to tip the Blues to win this one quite comfortably. Carlton to win it by 23 points with my big call that the Blues lead the entire second half. Now, the next game we have is Richmond taking on North Melbourne at the MCG. This is a really interesting game. 12 weeks ago, this would have been a $1 to $15 games in terms of the odds. Like, the Roos would have had absolutely no chance. But this is almost a 50-50 game. Like, North have that much improved this year. It's not even funny. And, you know, they were pretty good against the Cats. I mean, the Cats are one of the best teams in the comp. They only lost it by 20. And Richmond, on the other hand, well, they weren't too bad either. They just were very inaccurate. Both sides were. It was a bit of a shit show, the game, Freo v Richmond, in the first 3 quarters. And the Tigers, I think they were up by 9 late into the last term, or with 15 minutes to go. And then the Dockers ended up winning it by 4. So I think that might be it for the Tigers. They need to win their next 3 games for them to have any chance at finals. But, you know, I don't think that's going to happen. I actually think this game could be a bit of an upset. I'm going to tip North Melbourne in this one. Believe it or not, I think North can actually pull off a bit of an upset here and win the game. So I'll go North to win the game by 5 points with my big call, Tom Lynch to kick 4 or more behinds. And this one was submitted by Kara. So we move on to the next game, and it's St Kilda v Sydney at Marvel Stadium. I'm not really looking forward to this one. I'm really not looking forward to this one. This could, for all money, be a blowout. Obviously, we played absolutely pathetic against the Blues last week. We only had a good patch in the first 10 minutes and a good patch in the last 15 minutes. We got a few junk time goals. Max King in the first 10 minutes, I thought he was going to kick 10. Literally, he had 3 goals in the first 10 minutes, but then sort of just fell off as the game progressed. But no, yeah, we just weren't there. We weren't up to the contest, and it's really disappointing because we had a genuine chance of making finals if we would have won that. But yeah, I mean, we've got to win our next 3 for a slight chance of that happening, and I don't see it happening. So yeah, very disappointing. The Saints against the Blues, very, very disappointing stuff. And Sydney as well, well, you know, they just got the job done in a really, really exciting match. Probably one of the games of the year. An absolute shootout between the Swans and the Bombers. And I do enjoy watching shootouts. So it was one of the few games I actually watched that wasn't the Saints game on the weekend. But yeah, Swans got the job done by 7 in a really good game. You'd be dumb really not to tip the Swans here. But the reason why there's a chance of me tipping an upset and why I'm leaning on the Saints is because whenever the Saints are, favourites, we generally just screw things up. It happened against the Crows. It happened against the Bombers, the D's early in the season, against the Blues. And whenever we, go into the game as underdogs, such as the game against the Tigers and the Lions and the Eagles earlier this round, we generally get the job done. So what I reckon will happen, we'll bounce back from that game. We'll go, you know what, that was absolutely pathetic. The Swans will go into it thinking it's an easy win. And you would think that the Swans, drop one game before the end of the season because they've had an absolutely impressive run home. So, you know what? I'm going to tip an upset here. I'm not being biased in any way, shape or form. Like, I'm not expecting us to win, but I'm going the upset to tips in Kilda by 16 points with my big call, Max King and Lance Franklin combined for 8 or more goals. I definitely think Lance Franklin is going to have another really good day at the office against the Saints. And the next game we have is a showdown, Port v Adelaide. The showdowns have sort of lost their interest, especially considering both sides are on opposite ends of the ladder. Port will probably make the top 4. Adelaide will probably make the bottom 4. Yeah, Port last week sort of just had to get the job done against the Giants. Yeah, Adelaide, they weren't great against the Dogs, but they weren't awful. The Dogs were just a much better outfit, so I don't think it's too much worries for the Crows. No one was expecting them to win that one. Obviously, the Power are the favourites here, and I don't see him dropping this one. It'll be an absolute shock if they win. Like, there's almost, I'll give him 2% chance of dropping this one, the Power. But yeah, I'm going to go the Power here, quite obviously, by 47 points. With my big call, the Power score more than double Adelaide's score, which was submitted by Henry Martin. Now, the next game, we've got the first Sunday game. We've got Hawthorn take on Collingwood at the MCG. This could be quite an interesting game. I mean, both sides had really impressive wins on the weekend. Two upset wins. Collingwood obviously getting the job done against the Eagles at the MCG. At halftime, I think it was like 52 points. Like, the game was over at halftime. I just couldn't believe it. I did tip the Pies though, so it was good to see my tip go up there. And on the other hand, the Hawks arguably with a more impressive win. No one would have predicted the Lions to drop that after, their form of late has just not been great. But Hawthorn, they just get the job done at UTAS, although the Lions did challenge in that last quarter. I think they kicked 8 goals to 1, but it was just too little too late for the Lions, and now their top 4 chances are probably done. I reckon, yeah, their top 4 chances are out the window, and I don't think they're going to win the flag now. I think they're gone. And I don't know who it was who predicted the Lions to win the flag in a recent video. It might have been Druzy. And he also predicted the Giants to make the top 8. Well, those two things I am almost certain will not be happening. But yeah, this game is going to be quite an interesting one. It's probably going to be a close one, but I reckon the Pies are just the slightly better side in this one. So I'll tip them in a thriller. Collingwood by 3 with my big call. Hawks to lead for 3 quarters, but then choke in the last, submitted by Kara. Now, the next game we have got is Western Bulldogs v Essendon at Marvel Stadium. I really sort of wanted this one to be the Friday night game. I reckon this would have been a better game. Essendon and the Dogs play a very fast attacking play style. And an unbelievable stat that you might not know, the Bombers have played 3 games, the only 3 games of the season where both sides have scored over 100 points, and they've lost in all 3 of them. Can you believe it? So, I mean, if both sides score over 100 points in this one, it'll be an absolute thriller, I reckon. But yeah, the Dogs, just continuing their impressive run home towards finals with a very comprehensive win against the Crows. And Essendon fell short against the Swans in one of the games of the round, or the game of the round, but one of the games of the year. A very, very exciting game to watch. Stringer was very good for them as well. Yeah, I think the Dogs should get the job done here. Obviously in 2019, Essendon fans will not want me to remember that one, but the Dogs, when both sides were in a similar position, won by 110. Obviously, I don't see it happening anywhere near like that, but I still think the Dogs should get the job done in quite a close game. I think it'll be a seesawing battle. I'll go the Dogs to win it by 18 points with my big call. The margin doesn't exceed 24 points after the first quarter. Submitted by Aussie, 1557 on Discord. Now, the next game we have is Fremantle taking on Brisbane at Optus Stadium. This is a very, very interesting clash. I'd almost say it's a 50-50 after the form the Lions have been in. The Dockers got a very gritty win against the Tigers. They just needed to win that to keep their finals chances alive, beating the Tigers by 4 in not a great game. Well, at least the start wasn't great with the inaccuracy, but it proved to be one of the thrillers of the round. And the Tigers, yeah, you know, disappointing to lose that one. And also the Lions, I covered them a little bit earlier. They have been absolutely abysmal in their last 4 weeks. You know, the game against the Saints, they dropped that. They dropped the game against the Tigers. They had a shocking first half against the Suns, and then this game against the Hawks. Why is the drop so sudden? Is it really the loss of Hipwood actually causing this downfall? I don't know, but yeah, it's going to be really hard to see the Lions bounce back from this. Obviously, with that loss against the Hawks. But what I reckon will happen in this game, I reckon the Lions will finally play the way they play. I don't see them making that big of a free fall. I still think they're a really good side. But you never know, really. The Dockers easily could win this. But I'm going to tip the Lions. I'll go safe. The Lions by 9 in a great game. And my big call, Nat 5 gets less than 15 touches in the whole game. Submitted by Noah Alford. And the last game of the round is another Monday night clash. We've got Melbourne taking on West Coast at Optus Stadium on the Monday night. One side had one of their wins of the year, whilst the other sides had probably one of their losses of the year. But the side that had one of their losses of the year have had a lot of bad games this year, that's for sure. But West Coast, I don't know what's going on with the West Coast this year. They're quite a bipolar side, really. They can show up one game and look like one of the best sides in the comp, but then another week they look like one of the worst sides in the comp. And then the D's, I mean, their form has been a bit shaky as of late, but really, you know, really impressive to win that one by over 100, or they won it by 98. I think they're up by 100 at three-quarter time, so they slowed down in that last quarter. I'm sure Tees fans would have liked a 100-point win, but nonetheless, a 98-point win. You don't really see that too often anymore in footy. The D's just always seem to win these sort of games. Like, they always beat the good sides, and I wouldn't really call the Eagles a good side, but they always win away from home. They did it against Paul, they did it against Brisbane. They'll do it against the Eagles. I don't see the Eagles winning this one. I'm sorry, but I think this one will, if anything, I think this one will be quite a comprehensive win. I'm going to go Melbourne to win it by 32 points. Big call. Melbourne lead the entirety of the game. Submitted by Liam Does Sport. But there we go. Those were my round 21 tips. Yeah, I'll be streaming the Sydney Saints game and the Giants Geelong game for anyone wondering as well. Most likely, and unless there are plans that change last minute. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. As I said before, if you want to enter my tipping comp, Cardman22's tipping comp, you can if you really want to. Search it up. Leave a comment, obviously, down below for a punishment that you want to see me do. The one with the most likes, it's the most appropriate. I'll do a further episode, as I've said in the past. If you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. The subscribers have sort of been a little bit slack as of late, so it'd be nice if we can pick it back up. Maybe we can get, I don't know, the aim, let's go 14,000 subs by grand final day. Is that a bit of a stretch? You never know. The views and subs might pick up come finals time. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys soon in my next video.